Hello, and welcome to Keeper's Corner Podcast, where we're breaking down anything and everything Utica City FC related. With your hosts, as always, Matthew Sterling, Michelle Brooks, and Brandon Brooks. Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of the Keeper's Corner Podcast, one that I am tentatively titling Overtime with Matt and Brandon. Because we're going to talk about some things in the league that we are over.
And
time for them to end.
You should preface with a explicit warning for youngins in the room.
Going to be a more free talking episode, a little more ranty. And we don't want to hold anything back on our end, so not a family friendly show. I'm not censoring it. I'm not going to go through and cut stuff out and hit the bleepity bleepy button. We're going to say whatever is on our fucking mind. And I think that's a good way to start it.
So you don't want me to use my bleepity bleep button?
I mean, if you want to have you got any other fun sound effects?
Emotional damage.
I mean, that's what we got from this season, but
I will send you to Jesus. Emotional damage. You asked for this.
I was hoping for like the
I don't have that recorded on my soundboard. I've got it on a different soundboard, but it's not hooked up at the moment.
You know, the easy rim shot, the badum.
I mean, I have.
If you'd like to play a game.
All right, I'm done with my voice changer. Anyway,
Brandon, we got some things that we are just sick of seeing in this league.
Yes.
And let's start with the most recent one that made its rounds. And I think we're going to throw in the goalkeeper rule here and call them dumb rules that don't do anything, and it's over tampering from the commissioner.
I don't understand this one. I don't understand. I mean, well, okay. I partially understand it because, a lot of people were using their goalkeeper, including us, as essentially another defensive player that they could pass to indefinitely. But the problem is it takes away from a team's offense. I mean, how many times do we see other teams, including Utica, where we lose an offensive player because we have to have somebody back?
Yeah,
I mean, it ends up making it just about a 5-on-4 in that half of the field, and it just takes away from. I think that's why. I mean, granted, we've still seen a lot of high-scoring games, but those are usually blowouts, and I just feel like we haven't seen nearly as many high-scoring games this season across the league.
No. You know what the dumbest reason for that rule was? They were looking at some like M2, M3 tryouts, and then they're like, well, we're going to, they watched a bunch of passes back, and they went out in the second half, and they were like, well, you know what? We're kind of looking for guys that are more offensive minded and going to move the ball. So let's say we only pass back once. You ran it for a half, and then you called that definitive evidence. Get that fuck out of here.
Yeah.
That's like going to the bar, finding someone that's, you're just there to have a couple drinks. You're looking for someone to take home, and kind of hitting it off. And then halfway through the night, you're like, man, what if I just completely change the way this is going? I'm not looking for someone that can sit and sip some beers with me. I want someone that's going to slam shots. And then you're both fucked up making terrible decisions.
Yep.
If we had someone in charge of this league that, one, gave a shit in the correct way, and two, wasn't a micromanager who's apparently, if you watch I tried to watch the symposium at the coaches conference, but it started off just talking and waxing poetic about days of old. Like, I don't care what happened in 1975.
We
It's
should be
40, almost 50 years ago.
Yeah,
The world is different. The league is different. Move on.
Should be kind of focusing on, now.
Yeah, and like keeping things alive and building.
Yeah.
Dumb rule. But we got a whole bunch of new rules come out that go into effect with games starting February 11th. And to begin with, the first one, the most important one, they're like, let's make this game less fun. We don't want fans to be as engaged. We don't want to have fun. You know why? Because after every goal now, the whole team can't go out and celebrate. Only the guys on the field.
Yeah, this one, and you can't even you can basically only, essentially swap people in and out, and that like
they're literally treating the trade out like it's a live game.
Yeah,
you can't go onto the turf until your other guys come off. Yep. Micromanaging, But if you remember back in preseason when we first talked about the goalkeeper rule, I said, Keith Tozer, I will give you a shot, but you need to not be a fucking Rob Manfred, who has done nothing but tinker and meddle and ruin the game of baseball. And that is exactly what is starting to happen here.
Yep, it is. It is. I mean, I'm sorry, but goal celebrations are a big part of this, of how entertaining this league can be. I mean, seeing all the guys on the field, high-fiving or jumping up in each other's arms or whatever. And honestly, whether it's for us
breaking out into the dance parties.
Yeah, it's like you are literally taking away half of the entertainment.
We want this game to be fun and fast-paced and for the fans, except when it is fun and for the fans. We just want it to be fast-paced and it can look sloppy.
Yeah, like this is it's the dumbest thing. Taking away one of what I would consider, one of the most entertaining parts of the game. I mean, don't get me wrong. The rest of the game is entertaining too in its own right, but everybody loves goal celebrations. Everybody.
You want to know what makes it dumber? Did you read the little "in addition to" underneath it?
I want to say I did, but you go ahead.
Arena field lights must stay on.
Yes, I did.
You can't turn the lights off anymore. You can do a light show, which really does a lot of fucking good with the lights already on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did. I did read that, and I mean, that really screws with Utica's.
Because it can lead to injury after a player if it's in the dark. You know what else can lead to injuries of the player? Continuing play while they're on the ground holding their face. But you don't have a fucking problem with the referees letting that happen all the goddamn time, you pieces of shit. Hypocritical.
I'm
critical.
Never seen this side of Matt. I love it.
Oh, I am an angry man. I keep it below the surface most of the time. But that's why we put the explicit warning on this, so I can uncap that fucking rage. So, first offense, the team gets warned. Second offense,
I'm scared, everyone. I'm scared.
Third offense, $500. And fourth time after that, and all after, it's $1,000. Which, I don't know if you know it, but this league's poor as fuck. And, like, half the teams are on the verge of bankruptcy at any point. So,
which basically means that everyone's going to follow this to a T. And it's going to make things very boring.
Mm-hmm. Good job, Commissioner Tozer. You really have your finger on the pulse with this one. Yeah. You guys in charge are clearly, like, fucking the brain trust.
For the fans.
All right. The next rule they announced. If you don't have protective glass, you got to keep fans at least 6 feet away. Unless you have permanent seating. At which point, fans can't put their drinks on the boards or food. And it's like, well, no shit. Fans shouldn't be doing that. That's like something that the arena staff should be on. Or the officials who are apparently paying attention to things right there on the boards as they lean against them and jump up and sit on them and still not get out of the way of the play somehow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of, I can think of only a few places where that necessarily matters in Utica. I mean, you know, the beer garden and basically on our side of the field, you know, you've got basically only a few areas where there's no glass.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess technically on the other side of the field too, in those exact same areas. But
those are permanent seats. The beer garden, there's seats. now going to be a 4 to 6 foot buffer zone.
Yep. It basically, the beer garden has now shrunk.
Like the coach, the official boxes are already over there. The penalty boxes are there. If they're getting fucking bitchy, the fans are acting up. The officials are right there. You've got arena staff. You can't just fucking call security and get it dealt with like adults. You have to put a rule in.
Yep.
No. Like, some of this is just common sense responsibility. No food and drinks on the boards.
Yeah, it's...
Does that mean I can have them on the turf? It's not on the boards. Or do you have to put a rule in there too because you think your fans are idiots?
You can't have it on you can't have it on the turf. You're not allowed to go out and have a picnic on the logo, okay? It just doesn't work.
Can I have it in the referee box then? They seem to be sitting there not doing anything because based on the calls we've seen, that's not paying attention to the game.
No, not particularly. As we've seen.
That's just a superfluous. Yes, that word that I'm stumbling over.
I said it right once, and now I won't be able to do it again.
Superfluous.
Yes, that. I'm not going to try again. Anyway.
Unnecessary.
Yes.
Like, it's a common sense, unnecessary rule.
Dumb.
The next, they expanded the goalkeeper roster rule. So you're no longer allowed to choose between keeping one keeper or two keepers on the roster. You have to have two, no exceptions.
Mm-hmm. Which is probably why Baltimore had to sign one in the interim.
Right. Makes sense anyway.
Yeah, it does. It does.
You want to know how you make this you want to know how you make this a non-issue? The way that a smart person would?
Player safety.
You expand the roster to 17 so that people aren't having to choose between I want 3 full lines or 2 keepers.
That's fair. That is fair.
Boy, how hard was that? You expand the active roster to 27. You just gave another person a job. Look at you, job creator. Yay.
The person they have to pay.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Hey, you were the one that just talked about how poor the league is struggling.
Yeah, last guy on the bench, what's he making? $80 a game? Because this league's a joke that wants to take itself seriously, but it's run by clowns and they don't expect a circus. I feel like this has just turned into Matt Rants and Brandon.
I am loving it though. Hey, listen, when I have something to add, I will add it. But right now you are on a roll right now, and I love it.
All right, let's get to the one that doesn't involve us, but involves those like us. Public comments and social media guidelines. Owners, team staff, coaches, players, and teams contracted online streaming game announcers may not disparage game official decisions in press releases. Ontario.
Disparage.
Quotes provided to the media on social media or during stream game broadcasts. Fines will be levied accordingly based on the nature, severity, or context of the comments made. Suspension at the commissioner's discretion.
So in other words, people that are announcing the games can't talk about how fucking stupid and incompetent the reffing is for a particular game and things that should have been called, that blatantly should have been called, as we have seen in the past month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It also means like when that Ontario owner came out and was like, hey, We have a issue in this league protecting our players, and it starts with the officials who aren't keeping games under control. We should do something about it. This is clearly a reaction to that.
Yeah,
This is Keith Tozer and the others in charge of this league getting their panties in a bunch and crying like little girls that he said mean things about their. I don't know. I wouldn't trust.
I mean, he was basically right. I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right, and they don't want to hear it.
No. Get down off your high horse and fix the league, or get out of the way, because it doesn't look like you are the right man for this league.
No, it doesn't look like at this point. It doesn't look like they give two shits.
They talk a big game, but saying the right thing to the public versus doing the right thing don't seem to be compatible with them.
They talk a big game and then they do shit like this.
Yeah,
like all of
petty.
These.
It's petty and pathetic.
Yes.
They also throw in the social media guidelines. Now, this is clearly in response to everything that happened with Baltimore canceling games and Kansas City calling them out for not following COVID protocols, and then Milwaukee announcing that Baltimore was going to be forfeiting that game, which still hasn't been rescheduled.
Nope.
Neither of them have. So how about this league? Maybe instead of coming up with more rules, you make a ruling on that and you fine the owner for not getting them new games scheduled. Or like you could be like, you made us look bad, when in reality it's your inaction making you look bad.
Yeah, put pressure on, if that is, one of the key factors to this, put pressure on the people that need to have pressure put on them and make them do something. Make them schedule the games, even though they already maybe have a bad schedule or whatever. Get on them, make them man up and take care of business, or make them forfeit.
Yeah, it's and honestly, it's not on Milwaukee and Kansas City to have to find time in arena availability. Like when we had Coach on, I get what he was saying about the quality suffers, but I mean, Chihuahua can't play half their team when they're in the U.S. They cut a bunch and then they sign them to play in Mexico. And I'm sure when they come to the U.S. again, there's going to be a ton of cuts and re-signs.
Of course.
Because of visa issues. You're not worried about that affecting quality. You let Florida broadcast whatever that shit show is. You're not worried about that quality. San Diego, you were watching that game. How often were they late back from commercial?
Actually, I mean, if I remember correctly, I mean, maybe I just missed it, but I mean, it was pretty prompt.
I can think of 3 or 4 times that they were late back from commercial.
Then I probably was just going out to get a drink and just knew that they were going to be late.
Or that that clip that they wanted to show from 1987 that didn't relate to anything going on, but they needed to follow up something they said 2 days previously.
Yes, the clip that they kept trying to play over and over and over.
And interrupting the broadcast.
Interrupting the game over and over and over. Yeah, that was extremely disruptive. And I mean, now
we want to show you this guy's haircut from 1987.
And now people are just, members of the league are no longer able to say a word about it.
No.
Because, they don't want to improve the quality. They just don't want to hear about it.
Like, I'll complain about Utica's. Their first year and second year in the league, they were putting out broadcasts at 1080p. It was crisp. If I wanted to get a nice image from the broadcast to use for our wallpapers and editing and making stuff look nice,
I
could do it. They're down to 720p. It's so grainy because of the movement that it's basically unusable at that point for blowing it up. Like, what happened to that quality?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Ash. Like, yeah, you lost a season. Everyone did. Suck it up. I don't know.
Hey, we still have
it's inexcusable.
We still have one great thing about the broadcast, and that's Big Z.
Yes.
All right, we can't. We do have Bigsy. So
We do have like the replay in screen with the live action is always good.
yes, that is a very nice touch.
But let's get that quality back.
Yes,
and let's put standards up. Like Florida, why?
You might as well speak your mind.
Like Florida, if you're worried about putting rules in place, put in goddamn broadcast minimums. Like, I don't know, maybe if you cut to a camera, it not turn the screen pink and blue. Or put in turf minimums so that it doesn't look like something that the Swamp Thing's going to crawl out of at any point.
They're called
or standardize the glass around the whole field if you're worried about fans.
Yes.
Boy, that would have been easy, huh? Wonder whose mind that crossed or probably didn't.
I was going to say didn't is the more likely case.
My God. We said this about a former employer of mine, and it seems like it's true with this league because they will step over dollars to pick up dimes.
Yep.
There are easy ways to make money, and they don't want to do the simple thing. And instead, they're trying to be more complicated, and it devalues the product overall.
I mean, going back to the very first thing on this, not the very first thing, but the goal celebrations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is literally taking value away from fans. I mean, we love our goal celebrations. They're extremely entertaining to watch. But
I want the league, because there's so much fans of looking at three things and determining rules off of that, to look at 3 games and tell me how many injuries happened while the lights were off. And then I want you to look at the Ontario versus San Diego game, the Harrisburg-Baltimore game that we talked about in our last episode.
Yep.
And the Ontario and Utica game that took place in Utica. And tell me how many injuries happened when stoppage didn't play, or when play didn't stop when it was supposed to because of head injuries.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure we've had more, injuries when play didn't stop versus.
They made a problem that wasn't there into a problem.
Yep.
And they're not addressing an actual problem. In fact, they're going, you said something mean about an actual problem. We can't have that. It makes us look bad if someone points out the problem that everyone knows exists.
Everyone can see it.
Those are the rules. They're dumb. They're very, very dumb. Like, if anyone took more than 5 minutes to think of them, they would be better or not happening at all.
They are fucking dumb.
Like, people call the NFL the no fun league, but I listen to the Official Titans podcast, otherwise known as the OTP, for my fellow OT people.
Mm-hmm.
There were some dumb calls this year by officials. They still got to talk about it on the podcast and say that they were dumb calls. They could talk about it on the live radio broadcast.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're more controlling than the NFL is not a good thing.
Yeah. Like, nope. Now you can't say nothing. You have to only say, if they're basically taking it and saying, if you have anything nice to say, you can't say anything at all. It's a joke. It's a fucking joke.
Feels nice to not have to censor yourself, right?
Still trying to censor myself. Here, let me just do this and I'll be fine.
Well, you take that sip. We're going to cut to ads, and I'm going to go grab a glass of water, and then we will come back and talk about the officiating. Ooh. Specifically,
maybe
one in mind that comes to me because we've seen him in 2 of Utica's last 3 games, and that is Brian Miller. So enjoy this ad telling you to go make your own podcast. All right, Brandon.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Say what you're gonna.
Nope. I was just gonna say they've got Geo in the chat too.
Ooh.
So anyway,
well, we are back. In the Box is going on. They're having a fun time. I'll have to play catch up on that. But let's say what we want to say about this fucking officiating.
I am all ears for this one. I want to hear what you have to say about this because I know your opinion.
All right. Well, I think I said it pretty well in the Box group earlier when I was commenting back and forth with someone, and it was if you don't want a circus, don't hire clowns and then get mad when a tent shows up.
I was actually more thinking about the tweet that you put out, but hey, you know what?
Okay,
Go
yeah.
Too.
If you want to know, if you don't have a Twitter or you don't follow us, one, if you have a Twitter and you aren't following us, the fuck? Come on. We talk Utica. We vent. I go on trips. Brandon and Michelle will go on trips. At one point, you guys had the Twitter info to log in and add and join in.
Yeah, I'm good just commenting or retweeting at this point. You know, you do a good job on your own. I don't need to hold your hand.
So I'm social media and audio and video, and I need more. I need to talk to my boss. Who's my boss? Because I need more salary.
Go find a mirror.
Shit. Well, I guess I'm fucked. I said, well, because the league was like, we don't want no one talking about our officials badly. You know, and that easily offended Southern debutante that I always picture as Lindsey Graham every time he talks.
You can't control me, sir.
Well, I do so declare. This is offensive in the highest order. How dare they question our officials? Bro, your officials suck. As I said on Twitter, I would not trust them to call a bingo game. They're bush at best.
Yeah, it's, you know, how many, I mean, again, how many not only missed calls, but I mean, I'll be honest, like I'm going to reference the Van Zella thing we talked about previously on the last episode before this, our little bonus. I felt like that frankly, I feel like that should have been a red card. Like
absolutely. It was a knee to the head outside the box with more than enough steps to stop and redirect yourself.
And the fact that he knocked him out, just that is like the biggest factor to me. He knocked him out. That would have been a KO in a UFC match.
Yeah.
And he, got a blue card? If anything? I don't even remember if he got a card.
Malcolm Harris got no, it was a red card with power play.
Okay, he did.
Okay, good.
That's right. He did get escorted off. So he at least got what he should have gotten. That one was.
Did they upgrade it? Because, my God, based on the injuries, like the I gotta look see if they upgraded it. Because if they didn't extend that, well, they left. Nope, they left Pardo with 2 games, which I think he deserved for his injury.
Mm-hmm.
It was reckless. It was terrible form. It broke a man's leg. You concussed Van Zella with a knee to the head. Like, you didn't stop running. You didn't try to juke out of the way. You just continued with your run. I mean, yes, you looked mortified and horror afterwards, but like...
An argument could be made that he was trying to jump over him like a hurdle, but there are better ways.
That looked like me trying to hurdle someone, which is to say I ain't fucking hurdling nothing.
I'm going to hurdle a tic-tac.
Hurdle is just me being like, I hurt myself a little too much. I'm a little hurdle today.
I hurdle myself.
Like... How is that not at least a 2-game, if not a 3-game suspension?
Yeah.
There are, like, a broken leg is a serious injury. A knee to the head can kill someone.
We've watched this game for what? I mean, technically, you and I, well, I can only speak for myself, but I mean, I've only watched since we had, Utica City.
Well,
so
I did.
You're talking, 3 years now? Almost 4? So, I mean, yeah, sure, we haven't seen the league that much. How many times have we seen somebody break a leg.
Not a lot.
Get kicked in the fucking head.
We're seeing a lot more player injuries this year.
We're seeing an exponential amount of serious injuries compared to previous years. That should be a red flag to someone out there.
Yeah, that your officials aren't getting things in control before things get way too bad. And let's talk about some of these specific examples that we've seen in the Utica game. Both of them happening, well, all of these really happening under the unwatchful eyes of Brian Miller. We'll start with that terrible no call or no stoppage with Segura down in the corner for almost 15 seconds holding his head.
Yep.
You gotta know if you didn't see a repeat of that when Wilkin took the shot off his face? Because the ball had time to travel up the net, come back down onto the glass, hit the turf, and settle at a Ontario player's foot before play stopped.
Yep.
Like 3 seconds. You want to change a rule? Oh, God, I have the rule. I have it in my...
I was going to say, if you're talking about the potential
the play stoppage for...
you have literally quoted it recently.
Yeah. Oh. You know why it needs to be changed? Because it only says that the officials should stop play. Should. No, that needs to be will stop play. There's a potential head injury. You stop play fucking immediately. You don't will they or won't they or should they or shouldn't they. You stop play.
Regardless of severity, regardless of anything else.
What the fuck are you doing worried about goal celebrations when you have players getting concussed left and right over the past 2 weeks?
You have people taking soccer balls to the head. You have people getting rammed into the boards. Now, granted, in the case of Segura, yes, he was down. I mean, he did end up getting back up. But what if he didn't? What if he didn't?
It was 15 seconds. Like, that's not a small amount of time.
Like, what if he didn't? And what really... So, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't pay attention necessarily to who's who for the refereeing. You'll have to excuse me on that one. Which one was he on the field? Because if he's the one I think he was, then...
Number 7.
So, if you watched the replay, I would take a guess. I would wager a guess and say he was the one that was in the far corner from us towards the end of the game. I'm pretty confident of that.
Let me go pull up the game. You give your point.
If that is the case, he looked at Segura. He looked down the field twice at him. And you know what he did? He turned his fucking back to him to basically ignore it.
Nope.
Ignore the play. Ignore the injury, the potential injury. Just ignored it completely, which is blatant disregard for player safety, if that is the case.
20 seconds. There's the celebration. There's 57 seconds when he's already down. All right, so I'm going to come into this at 1:15 to play. Segura's got the ball. There's his head getting smashed against the boards. Probably taking an elbow from Uzi just because of the height difference. Turn your back. I can't make out his number, but that looks like his stupid haircut on that side. So he's the one on that side of the turf, the same side as...
the far side from us.
Yeah, he was in front of the Ontario bench.
Yes, he's the one. Yeah, he's the one that he's running in front of the benches.
Yes.
Yes,
and he's looking back, and he's looking back. And, there goes the whistle to his lips, and he pulled it away and looked away. And now he's looking back again, and now he turned away and ignored it.
Yep, completely... blatantly ignores the fact that he is down on the field.
Where's the fine for this idiot? He's endangering your player. Your player is your product. Your product is what makes you money. This man is putting your money flow in danger, and that you let him go out there and ref a game between these two teams 8 days later. Are you still there?
Yeah. I was rewatching it again myself because the biggest thing that pisses me off about this is the fact that we had, as I said, we had a player down. It doesn't matter if it's Utica. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what team it is. This should have been a stoppage, and it wasn't. And the fact that this man,
I'm unable to find the other official on the other side of the turf.
Number 3, whoever it was number 3. It was a kind of a short, squat man.
Oh yeah, he's hiding in a corner. That's why. Yeah. So yeah, it's number 7 that completely ignores it. It's Brian Miller. It's the man who I definitely got on Tuesday night.
Like I right here, I can clearly see him turning his back completely to Christian. Completely turns his back. Now, Christian eventually did get off the field, and Quentin must have subbed in because that's who shows up down at the other end of the field.
Too late to make any difference.
Too late to make any difference. So, in other words, he granted Ontario a free power play, which got them, contributed to them getting this goal. Now, I'm not saying that they wouldn't have won either way, but we at least would have potentially gone to overtime if we had 5 people back defending instead of, having one down. And okay, if you watch a little bit further and after the goal celebration and everything like that, when it is at 206:41, for anyone curious, you can say 206:40 will say, you can literally see Christian on the bench holding his head because he is probably still in pain. Like he only got up and he forced himself to get off the field with a head injury. Like you're lucky that nothing more serious came from that, because it was blatant disregard from the official.
Gross negligence at best. But blatant disregard for player safety at its worst.
Yep.
Like, get out of here. Get out of here. And that's not where officiating ends being bad.
Nope.
Because we go.
It's not just, we're not just talking about Utica.
But we're going to, just because, we've already mentioned the tote thing and everything else. But we'll go to the Sunday night game against Ontario. On our last episode, we mentioned the terrible blue card that essentially closed out the game for San Diego, and the call was made. I couldn't see that guy's back. 33. Thank you, MASL, for putting the officials with their numbers online so I can look at them and be like, oh, that fucking moron. Like, that's the one good thing you've done this year as far as transparency goes. 33,
we are seeing another side of Mr. Sterling and
hold on. Here, this is fucking great, right? So the official that gave that blue card that benefited San Diego, yes, on a clean tackle where the trailing foot caused the takedown.
Yes.
Number 33, Brian Elliott. It's his 6th season. I will give you 3 guesses where he lives.
San Diego?
Yeah. How the fuck are you letting guys officiate in their hometown?
Yeah, that doesn't exactly...
That doesn't scream no bias.
Yeah.
The fuck are you doing? The fuck. And granted, this guy could be completely by the books.
Yeah.
Might have just had a bad call.
We're not insinuating that there's anything going on there.
Might have just had a bad call, but it looks bad. You're worried about how you look? How about you don't have guys from the same city officiate the home team's game?
Yep.
Oh my God. It's not the officials that are Bush League, apparently. It's the whole fucking league. Management-wise.
We knew that already.
I knew it was bad. I didn't think it was this bad. you going to hire me to officiate Utica's next game? Because I tell you this, I officiated my brother's games in Little League, and let me tell you, I was less biased than you. I threw his own coach out.
You did not.
Yes.
You did not.
Yeah, so my brother was in A-League at the time. I'm going to tell this story because it's funny, and I love telling it. And one of those games where the team doesn't have enough kids show up to play, so they do a split team scrimmage. Doesn't matter. The actual umpire goes home, and they call me in, and I'm like 13, 14 at the time to umpire this game.
Yep.
And Brandon, what do you know any rules about baseball as far as like what's allowed and what's not?
I have literally watched baseball, like actual baseball, probably a handful of times. So
all right,
assume that I do not.
Let me tell you, the first thing you don't do with an umpire is you don't argue balls and strikes.
Oh yeah, no, that's
the first thing this guy did with me was argue balls and strikes, and I warned him in a game that doesn't matter because it's a scrimmage and you had to forfeit already to watch what he was saying.
Yeah, why do you necessarily care at that point?
Yeah, well, the kids that didn't show up. Yeah, I'm also 14. Like, I haven't been trained in this. I apparently had as much training as anyone running the MASL games, though. So, later in the game, he's coming out. His own son, the coach's own son, is behind home plate catching. Kid's never caught before because one of the kids that didn't show up were their usual catchers.
Yeah. So
doesn't know how to put the gear on.
Out of his own element.
Doesn't know how to put the gear on. And his dad comes out, the coach, and is cursing at him and like, fuck, you can't put on the gear right. God damn it. Why are you so stupid? And I asked him to watch his language. I said, Coach, I'd appreciate it if you don't swear.
Around a bunch of kids.
Yeah, there's younger brothers that are like 6 years old, 3 feet away behind the fence, behind the backstop. And he turned on me. He goes, you know what, Matt? You don't know anything. You're just a dumb fucking kid. And at that point, I went, you can get the fuck out of here. And I tossed him. Now, I didn't say get the fuck out of here. I told him, if I'm so stupid, then you can go home. And I threw him out. And it was even better because my dad was the assistant coach. And he had to go over and hand my dad the clipboard and be like, here, you manage the fucking team since your son threw me out. You don't think I'm fair? I probably look, in hindsight, I probably called the strikes a little bit tighter against my brother's team because I didn't want to look biased.
I can understand.
Probably. But Little League handbook states that swearing is an automatic ejection.
And you played it by the book then?
Uh-huh. Here's where it gets really bad. This coach and the president of the Little League, drinking buddies. Guess who never gets hired to umpire again?
That'd be you.
Uh-huh. So I feel like that's like my best guess based on personal experience is these officials got to be drinking buddies with someone in the league to keep getting a job because there's no reason otherwise.
That's fair. I mean, again, we keep going back to blatant disregard for player safety.
Mm-hmm.
How many times can we say the same thing? And, of course, it's just not going to get through to anyone.
Like, can we get coaches challenges and video review? Like, baseball has it. Basketball has it.
So I will mention
Football
something about that. I mean, there was one, I wish I could remember what it was right now, but there was one that if it had been reviewed, I think whatever it was, I don't remember if it was a goal or what it was, it would have been reversed against Utica in one of our recent games this past weekend. I don't remember what it was. I'm having a complete lapse. But if it had been, I even said, I'm like, if it had been reviewed, I think that would have been overturned and we wouldn't have had like a goal or whatever it was at the time.
Well, like it's one where like you want the goal, but at the same time, you'd rather they take the time to get the call right.
Yeah. Like, take in half the things in this league, take the time and actually get it right instead of just.
Well, we can't make rules based on half a game.
fuck you say to me?
I said, we can't make rules based on half a game.
No. Well, I mean, they can. They did.
But that's my nitpick with that one. On the one call that actually was player safety related was the wrong call. Because it was a clean tackle.
Yes. Yep.
Like when your broadcasters for the home team are going on there on the broadcast and like, that was well within his right. That's a clean tackle. Like,
yeah, they watched that. On. They watched it a few times too. Like they watched it a few times, and it's just like, yeah, that was pretty clean. I don't know.
I'm only going to mention in passing the inability to notice a flop that's more obvious than a fish off the hook in your boat.
Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen that enough this season. I mean, it's.
I'll be honest. There should have been an embellishment called against Blackwood on the blue card that he got for getting swiped in the face.
Yep. Because
he rolled for 15 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. You caught a backhand to the face. That is absolutely a blue card. It's a hand above the shoulders in the head neck region. Automatic blue card. But maybe if the officials
a little bit of something on it.
But maybe if the officials stopped play sooner, he wouldn't have had to act like that to get their fucking attention. But we have a bad call, Brian, on the turf.
Good thing we took away those goal celebrations.
Uh-huh. I watched Blackwood later in the game do the same thing that got Pablo a blue card, where he took down Frank by grabbing him by the shoulder.
Oh, yes.
Right? So Blackwood does the same thing on Frank in the third or fourth quarter. And you have Miller standing no more than 3 feet away from the play. And he doesn't even lift the whistle to his lips.
Yep.
I'm like, dog, I don't care if we're already down fucking 13-5. You have to make that call for player safety.
You have to make that call. Yes.
He's the same distance from Everton when he gets the most obvious boarding call of his life, and he doesn't even raise the card. Barely. He didn't even call a foul. He only stopped play because Everton stayed down.
Yep. Yeah, it was.
You had to call a medic on because this dude got thrown into the boards, and it's not a boarding call. Yo, you fucking brainless. This man should not be allowed on the turf ever again.
Oh, he will be, though.
Oh, he will, because we're going to get some excuse that the reason the MASL can't hire better referees is because they just don't have the resources. Find a way. Find a way. Raise ticket prices.
Wow.
Don't give away free tickets all the time. I don't know. When a team's been in the same city for, let's say, 5 years and they still can't draw more than 1,200 fans to a game, maybe you say, all right, guys, it was worth a shot, but you can either relocate or fold.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't want to cut broadcasting corners with broadcasting, although you let plenty of teams do it already.
Yeah, because, I mean, broadcasting is how you draw people. I mean, besides, bringing them into the stands, this is how some people are getting introduced to it. As I mentioned, I've been showing this game to people that didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
And, now I've got people that, I'm basically hosting watch parties for every game that Utica's been doing. That's been away because I'm introducing more fans to the game. Now, granted, half of them will never set foot in an arena because they're from all over the place.
But you get them involved. They go on. They buy some swag. They all of a sudden are repping you in England or in Europe.
Yep. So, I mean, you have to keep the broadcast quality up because, again, that's going to
be
the
teams that are there and penalize the ones that aren't.
Yes, absolutely.
But now we're going to penalize the guys that celebrate too much.
I mean, basically celebrate it all.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. If you're on the bench, nope, you can't be involved. Can't have team unity. You have to wait until your teammates come back over the bench, and then you can high five them after the moment has passed. Except with the exception, of course, of game-winning goals and whatever. Then you can leave the bench. That's the only time you're allowed. Otherwise, bad.
The
I mean, to be fair, well, I guess it wouldn't necessarily matter because it would show up on the broadcast, and then it would see. I mean, if the officials are going to be as bad as at least some of them are going to be as bad as they are at making calls, then just I didn't see them come off the bench. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
but they won't make that kind of good bad call. Not that it's to them anyway, but I'm just saying.
So the senior referee in charge of that whole setup was Kia DePana. I'm assuming I'm getting that name right. 20th year officiating. And somehow this dude, so you remember the double blue card?
Yes.
Where all of a sudden it was a 4-on-3 game?
Yep.
Okay, Pablo goes in the box because he decided to play a little WWE with the king. Well-deserved blue card.
Well-deserved blue card.
No argument there. You can't grab someone by the shoulder and be like, bitch, meet me on the mat. 18 seconds later. And I want to repeat that. 18 seconds later. There's another blue card. Ontario has 6 men on the field. That makes it the 4-on-3. Well, the first penalty ends. Now it's 4-on-4. And I keep looking up at the overhead, tracking the time on these penalties, how long they have. And the one for Utica runs out, and Pablo should be coming back on the turf. And yet, the officials are holding him in the box. And he's trying to get out. And there are 2 of them standing in front of him to keep him in the penalty box. And about 10 seconds passes before they let him out. And by the time he gets out onto the turf and they get the ball to him and he tries to set up the offense, here comes the Ontario player back out.
Yeah.
You guys can't count? You can't read a clock?
I was curious about that because, of course, I wasn't there. But
so was Tommy Tanner. Let me tell you, so was Tommy. He had a bone to pick with Brian Miller, and Miller didn't want to take any of it. Because I'm heckling Miller for his bullshit calls, and Tommy's ragging on him, and he is in front of me on the turf, and I'm 4 rows back, and all of a sudden he just goes, "That's enough!" and play stops, and I'm like, ooh. Can he yell at a fan? Because I'm kind of fired up, and I wish a bitch would. And then Utica gets a bench warning because Tommy's still like, hey, dipshit, 18 seconds means 18 seconds, not 8. They're different numbers.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
And Miller's standing by this, and oh my God. I've seen shit shows, but ugh.
Yeah,
Put the clown's in charge of the circus, eh?
I don't understand. I don't understand that, man. I don't understand his officiating. It just seems like
bad.
There's something missing. There's something missing up there.
A basic understanding of the rules and how time works.
Please study the rules. As you would say.
Look, I'm an adult. I own up to my mistakes. Before I make a judgment on one of these officials, I go to the laws and I look for what the rules say.
Yep.
And I want to make sure I'm saying it right, which is apparently more than your paid officials can be. And I would air more dirty laundry about the league, but things that are said off the record stay off the record.
Yes, they do.
However, it raises a question because you go through and you look at all these guys that have done their officiating.
Mhm.
And they're like the futsal guys or assistant refs with futsal, a similar but different sport. Futsal, FIFA Arena, retired. What do you know about officiating?
I know how to do it wrong.
Well, yeah, study any MASL game. So,
I can't say that I know a ton, Matt.
Officiating, much like soccer, has its different tiers.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got your MLS and your USL and your NPSL, and then you got the little offshoots, the weird ones like beach soccer and futsal and mini football. And your top tier guys are doing MLS. They're rank A.
Of course. Yeah.
What sport's not being played right now?
MLS.
What sport doesn't get played until like the very tail end of our season, and even then sparingly?
MLS.
Why aren't we hiring them?
I mean, what else are they doing?
Yeah. You're telling me that they work one day a week, maybe during, let's say, 7 months out of the year, and that gets them by? You're telling me they want like a little extra cash around the holidays?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Who doesn't like that?
Yeah. I can't imagine the pay differential is, well, I'm sure the pay differential is obvious, but for the number of officials you need and the ability to make the right play, let's say 95% of the time instead of 75 to 80% of the time, that's worth it because you want to put the best product out there, especially if you're trying to look like a real league and not like a rec league funded by a couple of daddy's boys, the snooty tooty types.
Yeah, you want to look like you want to put a quality product out there, and
officiating's part of that product.
In order to do that, officiating is part of that product.
So let's look. I don't know what the difference is. Allegedly. I don't know the financial situation of all the owners, but Rabesh, do your part. Whatever it is, find a way to get that money. I don't care if you have to do
refs in one arena.
I don't care if you have to do a swimsuit car wash and make the Utica City boys and the Comets go out there in goddamn February and clean cars. Joey did some modeling. You don't think there are some horny housewives that'll show up to watch him in a swimsuit scrub their car? And this is why we're uncensored on this one. Brandon's dying.
Shit, I never would have expected that.
You don't think there are some sexist, pervy guys in ultra-conservative New York who will be like, I can go have this little lady in a bikini clean my truck. And then pull that card out like the guy in Dodgeball, stand there rubbing their belly button, like make sure you're getting there nice and deep, like as they're scrubbing the rims on his truck that says, I have a tiny penis that everyone needs to know.
How?
You're going to make your money. It might take 2 weekends, but you're going to be able to afford the refs.
Wow. I'm Not what I expected. Not what I expect you to say.
Look, the other option was like we raise the money ourselves, and I don't know how to do that unless we started like one of those cam channels, and I do not want to do that, and I don't think you guys do either. Okay. That only works in a visual medium. No one knows. I have to say it so they do. No one knows that you were sitting there until now rubbing your nipples in a weirdly sensual way. One that was clearly meant to make me feel uncomfortable, but maybe it just made me feel a little turned on. You'll never know.
Oh, I'm going to find out one way or another.
Oh, behave.
Perfect time to break that one out.
Yeah. Look, apparently, according to the TSA, because my bum ankle set off those fancy new scanners that they have, and I had to get patted down on my left leg.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I partially tore my Achilles not too long ago, and then that got patted down, so I must have like some kind of bionic leg now. If you need to like research that and then sell it for weapons tech, apparently, because that's what the TSA was concerned, get the money, pay the money. We know you saved money getting the design for your mascot.
My God.
Take some of that little savings you had and
I'm not even going to talk about the mascot.
get some officials.
I
That cursed thing, I'm blaming the season on that. I still am. We were a good team until that thing showed up.
keep my mouth shut on that one. Nope.
Nepotism is so great. And we're fans of the league, and no one can do anything about what we say. I mean, technically, I do use the images and video without league permission, so they could slap me with the DMCA and have me take everything down. But the league is desperate for content. They need people to spread the word.
Spread the word.
And sure, I'll take pictures down. I'll take videos down. I'm not going to stop telling the truth about the league.
Yeah. Somebody's got to.
You can't stop Alex Jones. You can't stop me. And that man talks a lot of bullshit. Almost as much bullshit as the rules coming out of the MASL this day.
It is a rough time to be a fan of this sport. I feel it's just, we're not, we've talked about it already. We're not getting the level of product that we should be.
We're not getting the leadership we were sold on.
And it's just because rather than being having proper leadership, we're cutting corners. For whatever reason.
Like, yeah, I get it. You wanted to bring in guys that meant big things to the league 50 years ago, 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that matters when the problems of 2022 are not the problems of 1977.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
If you think your problems that can be fixed start with goal celebrations and teams rightfully calling you on hiring bad officials,
yeah,
then resign.
It definitely just feels like the whole league in general is going in the wrong direction.
Like, fold. I'm sorry. I love the team. I think the sport is fantastic. I wish I'd found it sooner. Part of that's on the advertising done by the Syracuse Silver Knights. I drove by a billboard every time I came back from a Syracuse basketball game, advertising the Syracuse Silver Knights. Never made it clear that they were an indoor league.
I've probably seen them in the past too, and I never knew what they were.
It was right on 690.
Yeah, so I've definitely gone past them in the past for sure.
Yeah, I'd see it. I'd be like, "Ooh, cool, soccer," and then I'd be like, "Oh yeah, my summer is a hell job at this time. I get one day off a week, and I have to use that for groceries and laundry and other adulting. I'm never gonna see them." Nope. Meanwhile, in the winter, I had 3 days off a week. I could have gone to every game, but I had no idea. Like marketing is a bigger issue than your referees getting called on their bullshit.
Yeah.
I landed in Ontario. I went to the car dealership or rental, not dealership. Yeah, the guy checking me out asks if I'm here for business, pleasure, personal reasons. I'm like, oh, here to have fun. Going to catch an Ontario Fury game. What's
Oh.
that?
Yeah.
You are a mile and a half from the arena that they play at. Mile and a half.
And you have no idea what that is.
How have you not even heard of them?
Yep.
Like, I would have accepted, oh, cool, have fun, but what's that? Oh. You're not failing because of the team celebrating. You're not failing because some idiots put their drinks and food on the boards. You're failing because you're failing to reach people.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as time to be over with things, I think that inability to fully acknowledge that by the league is the biggest thing. It's that stepping over dollars to pick up dimes.
Yep.
Hopefully things change, in pro sports, a new coach takes over and you're like, all right, 3 years. That's what they get. That's about how long it takes to change the culture. So far, the culture changes that we're seeing from leadership with the league is the same thing that we've seen with the MLB and Rob Manfred. And that has led to a lockout and the players trying to negotiate so that they aren't wasting their primes. Or, having the balls changed on them all the time. What other league has done that every year?
Mm-hmm.
But it felt good to rant and get some of this off our chest.
Yeah, it's just one of those things of, obviously we stay very to the book.
We try to stay family friendly and by a structure.
And I mean, obviously there is always bias in our podcast, but that's because you're getting a podcast from 3 Utica fans. Of course, there's going to be bias.
Mm-hmm.
But we tend to. I would say we tend to, look at the league as a whole in some aspect or another.
Like I try my best to be fair with officiating, but when they're not fair on the turf,
and again,
I'm watching this.
It's not just a Utica problem. It's not just been a problem against Utica.
I'm sitting there in Ontario, 2,500 miles from home, and you got the Ontario players arguing that calls are being made dumb, and I'm like, yeah, they're right, and I get where they're arguing, but it's 13-5.
Yeah,
but it is important that the calls are made correctly.
At any time, it is important that they be made correctly, regardless of the score. I don't care if it's 1-1 or 20-5.
As a fan of Utica, it felt petty that they were arguing, but as a fan of the sport, it was like, no, these calls have to be right.
Yep. We need to be getting this right, and we're not.
Nope.
So.
No, that's rough. So, look, we could have solutions, and I think hiring better referees from that A tier is the first step.
Mm-hmm.
I think not micromanaging games from your ivory tower that is apparently the league offices.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, because these rules are out of touch with reality.
I do agree. Yeah, it does feel that way.
Look, I've plugged it before. We have voicemail on our podcast. Anyone else got a fun rant, please feel free to leave us a voicemail. Brandon, I don't know about you, but this felt cathartic to say all this out loud.
It was very, obviously I've been very quiet for most of this, but that's really just because, you've said everything that needs to be said, and there's really not much I could necessarily add to it. And that's really one of the main reasons why I haven't needed to say much in this section or in this portion of it. You have gotten everything out that I would necessarily want to be said.
I appreciate being able to entertain you.
Oh yeah.
Would you be opposed to doing another one of these in the future if more dumb rules or
I hope we don't have to ever do one of these in the future, but of course.
Okay. Well, I mean, we can hope we never have to, but like, we're gonna have to.
I mean, based on recent experience, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you eat the bear. Sometimes the bear eats you.
I got it.
For the voicemail thing, like, just make your username something that can't easily be linked back to you. Especially if you're a player that wants to disparage officials, and you can do it in the third person. And we will be more than happy to add those in, as long as upon review the officiating looks to be as bad as you're claiming.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're a coach or a GM or even an owner.
We do not necessarily care.
And a little advice to owners. Maybe don't be worried about what goes on in a Facebook group that's not a page. And worry about making your teams better. And your product on the field and your product off the field.
And just remember that pages and groups are two different things.
Very, very different things. Oh, someone got a big boy truck out.
Yeah.
I can hear it through my walls. Vroom, vroom. Aww.
Aw, you cute little thing, you.
Oh, it's Boonville.
Oh, God. I'm glad I caught that.
Yeah?
My machine was going to reboot in 14 minutes.
Brandon, again, thanks for letting me rant mostly.
Of course. Oh, it's like I said, it's these feelings need to be put out there.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's something that, a lot of us have shared, but dare to not say.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And, unfortunately, it's just kind of the league that we're in right now. So I would love to see some things change. We all would, but
yeah,
I just don't see it happening. I really don't. Not this year, anyway.
Not unless a couple things happen. Like, I don't know. You rescind a couple dumb rules.
Mm-hmm.
You admit that you were wrong. You
won't happen.
Yeah. You stop making problems that don't exist into something that did exist.
Mm-hmm.
You find some broadcast standards somewhere and enforce them. You I don't know, the mini field's kind of interesting, but I feel like you need a much closer standard size. That window is very big.
Yeah, considering
like 25% different.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's literally a 25% difference between the standard fields and one outlier.
I don't know. And maybe when a coach or a manager or an owner or anyone that's actually at the games is like, no, we need to do something to protect our players that involves not letting just any old Joe Schmo officiate. You go, all right, let's come to the table and talk about this. Maybe we don't want to do it in season. Maybe we want to wait till after. But you don't go, I don't want anyone saying bad stuff about me no more, even if it is true.
Yeah, like take it seriously. Take it seriously instead of, just brushing it off and making rules that basically say, hey, you can't call us out when we do something stupid. That's what it is. That's literally what it is. It's, hey, you can't say mean things about us just because we did the dumb.
Like my favorite moment from this entire season so far, because there haven't been a lot for Utica.
Yep.
Was Jimmy Nordberg after Toth took that ball to the face. and play didn't stop when it should have. And a goal was allowed, and then they didn't disallow that goal.
Mhm.
Him letting into the referees to defend his guy, I'm sitting on my couch after 11 o'clock Eastern. And I'm clapping and I'm cheering. I'm like, you go fucking tell that guy to eat shit. He deserves to.
Yep. Oh yeah. No.
And then he got that yellow, and I was like, God, keep going. Do it. Do it. Oh, I can read your lips. You're telling him just give you the fucking red.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it reminded me of a rant a few years back when Aaron Boone was still viewed as a good manager, and he went out and let this umpire behind plate know that he was sucking for balls and strikes. I mean, he got in this guy's face and he's like, "You're having a shitty day out here. That guy's a good pitcher, but we are savages in the box. We're fucking savages in the box." Like, just firing it up, defending his guys, being like, "Yeah, I don't care that he's good. Our guys are better. I know they're better. I know your calls are shit." And he just let him have it, and then they tossed him. And it was like, yeah, you're going to miss the rest of this game. They don't have the immediate suspension in baseball that the MASL does.
Right.
Which, I don't know how you feel about that. I think if it's a discussion for another day.
Potentially a discussion for another day.
But it galvanized the team. And I think that's what happened for Ontario. Even though they lost that game.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost the next one.
That was
both shootout losses.
That was a coach doing what a coach should do, which is defending his team no matter the cost, defending his players, defending the well-being of his players when no one else seems to give a shit.
Certainly not on the league side.
Yes, clearly not on the league side. But that was exactly what that was. That was a coach defending a player when, again, no one else would. And frankly, I could see someone like, I always talk about our coach because, he's the one who we've interacted with the most.
Mm-hmm.
I would see him doing the exact same thing if that was, if that had happened to us.
Yeah.
Because, that is, I mean, yeah, sure. I know he reins it in. I'm sure he reins it in a good amount, but that would be the one time when it's just like, just let loose, just take your lashings and just tell them how it is. Spark that, spark your team by basically throwing yourself on the sword type deal. Or, throw yourself on the sword to spark the discussion within the league. Not that, again, it seems to matter this year, but I absolutely could see, like I said, I could see Coach Hall doing the exact same thing that Jimmy did.
Like, I'd love to know where these rules came from and who signed off on them.
Well, we know I signed off on them, but
well, I mean, were the owners involved at all?
Yeah. Or was it just above their heads and it's just shit rolling downhill?
If it was owners, I want to know what owners actually voted for it, because holy shit.
Yeah.
You guys clearly don't know how to market your own product.
Not
if
at
that's
all.
The case.
I'm interested to see what kind of goal celebrations we see around the league now. Because there's still celebrations, but just it's going to be lackluster now.
Man, I should talk to security at the Odd and be like, "Hey, it says no one from the bench. Like, what kind of? And we're talking tossed out for the season or tossed out for the forever? If I were to go down on the turf after a score in the final game, I'll watch the rest from 72. Like,
I want to go down and celebrate with our guys no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you talk about the guy. You talk about the You can talk about the guys on the bench, but what about fans just jumping the boards?
Yeah, I didn't hear nothing about that. So
Yeah.
there's not a rule, and apparently you think we're all idiots that need rules to do stuff that's with common sense. So I guess until otherwise, we're allowed on the turf.
We need everything spelled out. So
Please hold my hand, Daddy Tozer. I should not have said that way. My God, between Huber holding this, I'm just done.
wow, Huber holes and hand holding.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, that was a funny way to end it, at least. If the time comes, I'd love to do another one of these. Hopefully the time won't come, but I feel like it'll be March and we still won't have an answer on what's going on with Baltimore, KC, and Milwaukee's forfeit or not forfeit games. And we might just have to get a rant on about how the league needs to shit or get off the pot.
I really
Look,
hope
I can say dumb things. I can say dumb things, but you can't deep throat the mic and expect me not to say something about it.
I was just trying to get close to my microphone. What are you?
Your mouth was a gaping hole. You were trying to take a chunk out of it, even if it was just the tip. Oh, Jesus. Oh, now it's circumcised and you think you can fit it?
Oh my God.
Uncensored stuff. Oh, this is going to be fun to not edit.
Well, it's also the fact that it's, 12:15 now.
Yeah, we should probably call it.
I mean, that could be why I started going quiet. It's just my brain does not work anymore after midnight. It's like the what is it? The things from Gremlins. You don't feed them after midnight.
I'm still a little loopy after my trip because I couldn't sleep the night before, and then let's see, the time I went to bed on the West Coast would have been equivalent to like 2 a.m. out here.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
I crashed like a rock last night, and I think I'm going to do the same tonight. So, y'all have a good night. To those listening, thanks for listening. There'll be the fun little pluggy plugs after the end. Leave us some voicemails at our website, anchor.fm/keepercornerpod. There's that TeePublic store that everyone and I forget about from time to time. Should be back next week with another wallpaper. Maybe we can talk about Baltimore and Utica. Or maybe we'll just ignore that and talk about the league.
Hopefully we can start talking about more bright times ahead and better condition for...
We'll be at 12 games. We should probably talk about our how our preseason predictions are going.
No. What are you, crazy?
Yes.
Why?
I'm sleep deprived.
Why would we ever want to talk about that at this point?
Because unlike the league, we own up to our mistakes.
If no one else does it, why are we supposed to?
We hold ourselves to a higher standard and we're better than them.
Can't argue with you there.
God, I hope Pete Raymond is still listening to these things.
I'm surprised anyone listens to us at this point.
Our listening is down quite a bit since we had Hall on. No one's been quite as involved since that COVID scare. But
yeah, but you know what?
Maybe an uncensored, ranty episode is what gets him back. Our regular episodes are a lot more tame. We just finished one, and I got to edit both of these. So, y'all, thanks for listening. I'm Matt.
I'm Brandon.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Bye.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Keeper's Corner podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to us so you never miss an episode. That podcast app also has reviews. Be sure to leave us 5 stars to let us know how we're doing and reach a larger audience. It really helps us out. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Keeper Corners Pod. And you can always find us there talking UCFC soccer. Thanks again for the support. It's truly appreciated. One last thing. Go Utica.